Ju-on. Apply directly to the Jew. Ju-on. Apply directly to the Jew. Ju-on. Apply directly to the Jew. Ju-on can be found on Amazon.com. Ju-on. Apply directly to the Jew. Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk, an opinionated and accidentally funny horror movie review show. Your panel of expert hosts each week are Dr. Bryce Hanson, who holds a PhD in spookology, and Professor David Day, the foremost expert on scare no-nos. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. I'm Bryce Hanson.
And I'm David Day. Reading this ad copy, it's really repetitive. It seems like they're hearkening back to something.
Yeah.
We had the giggles hardcore over that joke.
I mean, it's... I'm hoping that we're not accused of a hate crime. Like, we don't want to curse Jews.
No.
It's just a play on the word Jew-on and the head-on.
Right.
If you've never seen the head-on commercials.
Right. We're totally... I love the Jews.
Yeah. They're the chosen people.
They're the chosen people. Come on now.
So before we get started, let's just mention our website, horrormovietalk.com, and there you can find links to all of our past episodes, our blog posts, and links to our social media, most importantly. We post new episodes every Wednesday, so please subscribe, and more importantly, leave a rating on Apple Podcasts if you're an Apple person. Otherwise, you can also find us on all the other platforms, wherever you're listening to us right now, obviously.
Look, even if you don't have an Apple product, I found out. Did you know this, Bryce? Did you know this? Check this out. I have a PC, and I downloaded iTunes onto my PC, made an account, and then I just gave us a rating that way. Not that, I mean, I gave us a fair rating, you know, but...
Right.
A rating nonetheless. and so you can do it no matter what. It's really easy. So and it helps us out probably more than anything else that you can throw at us, other than money, which does help us out more than a rating. Yeah,
it's surprisingly effective if you look at the charts.
Yeah.
If we gain a listener or if we gain a rating, it just skyrockets in the charts for on Apple Podcasts, which is pretty significant for us. Okay, today we got a controversial show.
Really controversial.
Surprisingly.
I had no idea. I woke up this morning and looked at Rotten Tomatoes like, oh shit, this is not going to be... We are going against the grain.
We're reviewing apparently the world's worst movie. Have you heard the vitriol about Cats?
Yeah.
This one's worse.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
So much worse than Cats.
Worse than having to sit through the most boring, horrible, just grown adults meow at a camera for 2.5 hours.
If you're picking between this movie and seeing James Corden prance around in a cat suit,
choose James Corden.
Choose James Corden.
Yeah, apparently.
Over this horrible, horrible film called The Grudge.
2020.
From 2020. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being a miserable dredge, where it makes you angry, 5 being a perfectly average film that hits all the expected marks, and 10 being so good it transcends genre boundaries. I think we've only done a few 10s. Ever. Mm-hmm. So,
I think the most recent one I gave was probably American Psycho.
Yeah.
And before that, I really liked Dr. Sleep. But, I had 2 in a row.
After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. About the film. Later, we will be doing a new bit, especially for this movie, called Critics Corner, because we want to dive deep into what people are saying and what their criticisms of this horrible, horrible, awful, god-awful horror movie.
I think it's important to keep to be critical of critics.
Right.
First of all.
Right.
And if there's anybody fit for that job, it's me. I've been told I'm one of the most negative, critical people that most have ever met. So I think it falls on you and me to first of all to let everybody else know, hey, our opinion isn't the only one out there. There's a lot of other people that have a totally different opinion of this movie than us.
Right.
So we want to represent them so that you can make a fair assessment of this movie.
That's what we aim to do on Horror Movie Talk. Be fair and balanced.
Here at Horror Movie Talk, we aim to give you a fair and balanced experience so that you know whether or not you should spend that $11 on the movie theater and maybe $7 or $8 more on popcorn.
Okay, let's move on. We went and saw The Grudge, and I feel like I'm taking crazy pills because I liked it.
Yeah, I had a very good time.
Here is the trailer for 2020's The Grudge.
Hello, it's Peter Spencer.
I'm here about selling the house. Is anyone home?
Hello?
This is Detective Muldoon.
This is Peter Spencer. Something happened to me at 44 Rayburn Drive.
Someone was murdered at that house.
Why did you never go into that place?
Something never felt right about it.
Looks like we got another one.
Do you think that the body we found's related? Hello? I went to the house. Hello? Police department. I think something followed me home.
Mommy, what's going on? What's wrong?
We need to leave right now.
Okay.
You know, just before we get into the synopsis or our review, I want to say I think this movie had... So The Grudge is about...
A curse.
It's about a curse. That when a person dies in a fit of extreme rage, a curse is born. And this curse haunts a place, and once you've entered the place, you can't escape the curse. I feel like The Grudge has a curse on it. This one particular, like, people decided before it came out, like, people were bracing for impact. 6 months ago when the trailer came out, I remember reading this on subreddits and shit, and then, like, this sentiment hit where it was like, you know, where it's like popular opinion and you're like, I don't want to look like the dummy. I don't want to look dumb. If I like this movie, everyone won't like me.
Yeah, it happens a lot with Star Wars too.
Yeah,
where
sure.
It's like if you like The Last Jedi, people would be like, "Well, you just have no taste."
Right.
Like, no. I mean, what do you? I'll ask the same question that I ask Star Wars fans now. It's like, what exactly do you expect? Like, what lofty expectations do you expect to get out of this film going experience that it does not fulfill?
Yeah.
And are those realistic?
Yeah.
Like, are you trying to recapture your childhood in a new movie? Well, you're not a child anymore. And, like, you've seen these tropes before. So it's not, like, earth-shattering.
You're going to have to come... You're going to have to come to terms with your jaded shittiness.
Yeah.
It's you that are the problem. But I mean, let's get into the review. I will just say that I feel like people are scared to like this.
Yeah. and we're giving you permission to like it.
Yeah.
The Grudge can be found in theaters now. The Grudge 2020 is a soft reboot sequel of The American Grudge from 2004. It tells the story of a single mother, Detective Muldoon, played by Andrea Riseborough, which you might recognize from Mandy.
God.
She's the Mandy.
Yeah,
Mandy.
she was Mandy from Mandy. I love her in horror movies.
So Detective Muldoon, she moves into a new police force and discovers a dead body in the woods. Her partner, Detective Goodman, played by Demian Bashir, seems disturbed when the body is connected with a house associated with a previous murder case he investigated years ago. As established in the previous Grudges and the opening credits, when someone is killed in a violent rage, a curse is formed around the place of death, or around the people, apparently, that live there. It's a little, I mean, it's not a curse.
Super duper clear, but it's definitely tied to people and places.
Yeah. Detective Goodman mysteriously tries to dissuade Muldoon from investigating too deeply and says, definitely don't go in the house.
Don't go in the house. And she's like, well, I gotta get in the house somehow.
As you can guess, she goes in the house. Detective Muldoon, as she investigates the current and previous murders, the film flashes back to tell the story of 3 families in different stages of life, all being haunted and hunted by the same curse.
Oh, well, you know.
I haven't seen any of the previous Grudges or the original Ju-On, so I was going in blind. However, the information I needed was provided in the opening credits. Murder bad, make curse, curse bad.
Curse bad, yes.
This technique I actually liked, but I admit it does lessen the mystery a bit. There's no real discovery about what this curse is, and I don't think any of the characters really understand the curse or find out like why things are happening to them other than they're being haunted.
It's revealed in the end scene through a reenactment that she witnesses. Kinda. I mean, the impetus for the actions of the person who caused the grudge, I'm still not super clear on.
Yeah, so
but in the original Grudge, I haven't seen Ju-On, but I have seen The Grudge and The Grudge 2. And I enjoyed them both. I think The Grudge 2 maybe not so much. But and it was long ago. Last time I saw these were both in theaters. So, over 15 years ago or something like that. And I got to say, The Grudge, the curse, is not like, it's not while it is the name and the focus of the movie, it's not the interesting part.
Yeah.
It kind of is a little bit.
It's a device.
Yeah, it's a device to, this movie is simple. I will give it that.
It's like when you're in a demonic possession movie, the demonic possession isn't necessarily the most interesting part of the movie. It's people's reaction to it.
Right.
Same with like any other haunting movie. It's like the haunting. I mean, once you've seen one ghost story, you kind of seen them all.
Yeah, you got it. You got the
like spooky stuff moves. There's sounds. Doors creak.
Little kids are
ghost jumps out.
Little kids are terrifying always.
So the technique, but this. Yeah, so just telling you right out that, like, it says, this is what the Grudge is, this is how it operates, is pretty useful for a sequel. Since all that information has already been established in the previous films, even though they were 15 years ago.
It does just come out in the opening credits with words for you to read that are like, here's what's up.
Yeah.
And that's pretty effective.
The director, Nicholas Pesci, sets a measured pace and a moody tone for this movie, which for me helped to build up the dread. There isn't much mystery or any real surprises in terms of the plot, but it does feel compelling because of the inevitability of what you know is going to happen. It's like watching a slow-mo train wreck. The first act takes its time to develop characters. You're introduced to each family in turn, and each has a unique situation that inspires empathy. So it does feel like there are stakes. The most interesting of the bunch is probably the elderly Matheson family that is dealing with dementia and assisted suicide. It deals with some weighty topics. I mean, I can see how it might be like considered heavy-handed or artificial to set them up so quickly, but I thought it did it efficiently, and you could empathize with each of these families. Like, it gave you a reason to care for each of them. It wasn't just like,
yeah,
these people exist.
Right. I felt connected to all the characters, and furthermore, you said it does still feel compelling because of the inevitability. You said there isn't much mystery or any real surprises in terms of plot, but it does still feel compelling because of the inevitability of what you know is going to happen.
You remembered what I said really good.
Yeah.
You got a photographic memory for words.
I'm really good. I am a writer. So... yeah, I mean, I'd just like to add to that, like, I felt the characters were compelling. Like, each one of them had...
and they're all acted well.
They all had stakes.
Yeah.
They all acted really well. They're all played by pros.
Yeah.
It was not lacking. It was not lacking in terms of interesting character arcs.
Yeah, I compare it to other horror movies that are pretty... blatant about exposition or attempts to get you to care about characters that aren't really fleshed out. So I go back to, I think it's Annabelle Creation. Mm-hmm. No, is it Annabelle? It's one of the Annabelle.
Annabelle Comes Home.
No, not that
Creation. Origins.
I can keep track of all this shit. It's the one where it just has literally
Annabelle 2.
It literally has a bus full of orphans, and it's like, they're orphans, care.
Yeah.
And you just don't, because they just feel like fodder.
That's a great one to bring up, because people love that fucking terrible movie. That's a great comparison, because it's like, you just like that one for no reason. But why? Well, because orphans. It's like, that's bad. That's a bad premise.
Yeah.
It's shoddy, lazy storytelling.
Yeah, I mean, when none of the characters or the families in this movie feel like fodder. It's not like, we need bodies.
Right.
Here are bodies. Or it feels like each of them are living in their own world. Yeah. They have their own, like, story, and it's respected. So this is definitely a one-trick pony, though. Along the lines of the Conjuring movies, it's more of a vehicle for jump scares. Some of the scares are effective, but they're generally pretty sparse until the end. With the R rating, it's able to delve into more graphic violence. This is a pretty light R, since there are only a few moments that earn the rating, but they are effective and pack a punch when they come.
Yeah, and the R is earned in my mind by the ambiance, by the mood that this movie sets. It is dark.
Yeah.
It is heavy. Uh-huh. And it leaves you with a sheen of kind of gross.
Right.
Like, this is a heavy shit kind of gross feeling that it leaves you with.
Yeah. So coming out of the movie, both me and David thought it was a good movie. Mm-hmm. I liked it despite its slow pace and general predictability, because it's a well-crafted movie with a pretty distinctive tone and enough gravitas to feel compelling. I like this director, Nicholas Pesce. We reviewed one of his previous movies called Piercing, which I don't think a lot of people saw, and I don't think received a lot of critical acclaim, but I thought it was really interesting.
Yeah,
and well-directed.
In terms of a well-made movie, it was a well-made movie.
So we were like, hey, we get to review a pretty good movie this week. I go home to upload our quick take review on YouTube. We shot a quick video and upload it. And when I'm posting it around, I'm seeing other reviews coming out. I check Twitter and I realize that I am in the minority on this movie. People and critics apparently hate this movie.
Hate it.
Hate it. With
like
capital Hate. Hate.
Yeah.
it has a worse score on Rotten Tomatoes than Cats, which is patently ridiculous to me. I felt I saw a completely different movie. I don't know what people were expecting from it, but apparently they were very disappointed with the film. Most of the criticisms about it were that it's boring, or that it didn't feature the original girl ghost Kyoko as much as they wanted, or some of them talked about how they were disappointed that the actors weren't more well utilized. Like they had favorites, like the Mrs. Matheson, the old lady with dementia. You've seen her in some other things.
She's great.
She's great. And I don't know, a lot of them were like, well, they're all great actors and they're doing a great job to save this movie. It's like, I mean,
what are you talking about? I agree. So, well, there's nothing to agree with. There's a ton of critical anger about this movie that is almost baseless. It's just, like you said, they're just like, it's boring. It's like, okay, can you expand on that? Well, there were too many story arcs, and they didn't do a good job, expressing them. They didn't do a good job fleshing them out. It's like, I mean, I saw the exact opposite of that.
Right.
And so, like, maybe, like, well, I just didn't care about any of them. And it's like, okay, I mean, I've done that plenty of times before. I've said that before. And this could just be a thing that comes down to taste. It could be. It could just be that everyone's taste, they just don't have a taste for it. But I got to keep going back to the curse on this movie. I think people made up their minds about this movie as soon as they realized it was being remade, and they were like, this is the line in the sand. We're going to die here. Right. And now poor Nicolas Pesce, I think he did a very admirable job with this movie, and I think he did the series I think he did better than The Grudge 2. I haven't seen Ju-On, but I think this is a great way to amp up, and a lot of people are just flat out incorrect in their criticisms, in their basic criticisms of it. So I don't know. I think it's a good movie.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't know. I feel like I'm being gaslit. I stand by my original impressions upon leaving the theater. I think it's worth a watch. I give it a score of a 6 out of 10.
And before the show started, I said, Bryce, did you temper your score a little bit because of the reviews? What do you think?
A little bit, because I really thought about it. Like, I was like, oh, do you have the clip
of what?
Of Seymour?
Oh. Am I so out of touch? No, it's the children who are wrong.
I felt like, am I just missing it with this movie? And I really tried to temper my initial impressions by thinking about, like, all right, what are other people gonna like? What was my actual experience upon watching it? And yeah, there were times where I was yawning or not super engaged, but like,
I did care the whole way through.
I did care. Yeah. Like, it felt like there were stakes. It's right on. It's like a high 6, low 7. It's like right on the edge for me. Like,
for me, it's on the edge of an 8. It's this. I'm gonna say this is a high 7 for me. Like, I'm really glad that I saw this movie. I wouldn't say it's a spectacular movie, and it is just a jump scare vehicle, but it's great at that. It's it's as good as the better iterations of The Conjuring that are basically just jump scare factories as well.
Yeah,
and for what it is, I think it's really compelling and interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think it's better than average.
And dark as shit. Like, it really accomplishes an impressive ambiance. Like, this is like dirty right up there with like getting close to the grime of Rob Zombie. This is gross.
And it makes you feel gross, just tonally.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's our score. We're going to stick with it, even though I kind of compromised. it's worth a watch. Don't be dissuaded by a 19% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's ridiculous.
It's silly. Yeah, it doesn't deserve that. It's a good movie.
So before we get into spoilers and talk a little bit more in detail about the plot points and the stuff we liked and hated about the film, let's just do a quick couple plugs for our Patreon account. You need to check out our Patreon if you like the show and want to support us. Lots of different tiers, from just throwing us, a little bit into the tip jar to becoming a full-on supporter and participant in the program. We've got perks from just getting advance release. We'll post it on Patreon before our regular schedule once it's edited, as well as a whole separate podcast called The Afterpod, where we leave the mics running and shoot the shit a little more and have a little more larger scope in terms of topical material.
It's more, in my opinion,
like when after the podcast, we usually sit around and talk for like half an hour to an hour anyways.
And a lot of gossip.
And we're just like leaving the mics running for that. Which a lot of patrons actually really like it. You can also support the podcast by buying or renting any movie or product that we mention, or anything that you're planning on buying or renting on Amazon. Just go to horrormovietalk.com and click through to Amazon from one of the Amazon links. The most convenient one is in the header of the site. It says buy on Amazon. It's a big green button next to the Patreon button. So check that out if you're planning on doing any post-Christmas shopping. Also, as a special offer to our listeners, Shudder is offering a 30-day free trial of their horror streaming service if you use the code HMT at checkout. That's shudder.com, SHUDDER.
Dude, on Shudder, I just watched Haunt, which is like Hellfest, but I think did I say this last week?
Yeah.
Let me think here. Did I watch anything else on Shudder? Oh, there was one about some dude in some armor that was pretty good. I forget what it was called. Anyway, yeah, Shudder's got some great shit on it right now, and you guys should check it out. So HMT at checkout gets you that 30-day free trial.
Yeah, they're really good. They've got some great curated lists, and especially if you like, Ju-On or some of these foreign horror films. It doesn't have Ju-On on it right now, but it has a really good curated list of foreign horror films pretty much at any time.
And some great commentary by people like Joe Bob Briggs, some series that are original. Oh, Eli Roth has his own series on there discussing the history of horror. And
yeah. So also check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He's a professional artist who fucks hard. He also takes commissions for artwork from HMT fans. Contact him at DGOEBAL00 on Instagram. That's DGoebel00 on Instagram. And make your artistic dreams come true. Tell him HMT sent you. We love this guy. He makes the featured images for our posts, and they just look great every time.
Yeah.
So when
not only do they look great, but
it matches our sensibility.
Yeah,
like
the angle and the tone, like he's got the comedy in him. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah, our sensibilities really match up, and we really appreciate that he volunteered his talent for the show.
Hey, quick shout out to our latest patron,
Don B.
Don B. That's right. I was trying to remember his last name, and then I remembered I probably shouldn't say his whole last name.
Right. He might not appreciate that.
Yeah, thanks for joining up, Don. We really appreciate your support a whole lot. So
yeah, and Don is also on Twitter. I forget his Twitter.
Oh yeah, I'll look that up, and I'll let you know in a couple minutes here.
Yeah, he shared a really cool post. He endorsed Horror Movie Talk and said, check this podcast out, they're pretty great. And then he took our logo and animated it, which
makes
really
GIFs.
Cool.
He makes horror movie GIFs on Twitter.
Yeah, and so you need to check this guy out.
Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll let you know what his name is here in a second.
He also has a Patreon where he does Star Wars art. But yeah, check him out on Twitter. Lots of great horror, like kind of animated GIFs and poster homages to past horror films. And his Twitter handle is
the Cinema Sorcerer, at Cinema Sorcerer.
At Cinema Sorcerer, no underscores or anything?
Nope, just
okay.
At Cinema Sorcerer.
So yeah, check him out. Thanks, Don B, for becoming our latest Patreon, supporting the show. Now let's get into spoilers. Spoilers. Okay. So the movie had a really strong opening to me. Opens with the Landers girl, the family wife, whatever her name is.
Yeah, I believe she's the girl from The Grudge 2.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yes, I believe so.
So opens with her going out and taking the trash, and they're going to be moving back to America. I think she's talking on the phone, discussing this. And there's like movement, like real subtle movement in these white trash bags on the sidewalk.
Yeah, kind of like they're breathing, kind of like
yeah, just,
like the trash bag is aspirating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is really creepy.
Yeah.
Like it really worked for me.
Yeah, if I saw a trash bag like just regularly taking a breath, I'd be like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah. So they, it's apparently, it connects the previous Grudge. So is it the Grudge 2?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't find anywhere that specifically said it's a sequel to The Grudge or The Grudge 2. I feel like they skipped over something.
I may be full of shit on this. If I recall, The Grudge, both The Grudge and The Grudge 2 took place in Japan. And The Grudge 2 included Sarah Michelle Gellar's sister, who I think this was. I could be way off base. So, if I'm wrong,
let us know on social media how wrong we are.
Yeah, tell us how dumb we are. We're so stupid. Oh, we barely. No, okay, go on.
So that's more of a prologue. Then it goes to Detective Muldoon and her son. They're introduced. We find out pretty quickly that she recently lost her husband. You find out later it's from cancer. And they're still reeling from that loss. I think it's about 3 months since he died. And she moves to a new police force and is introduced to her new partner, Detective Goodman. The one thing of note, as they set up Muldoon and her son, they have a trick to calm down when they're scared. They count down from 5 and close their eyes.
Yeah, they close their eyes and count to 5.
Which is a great setup to a jump scare.
Yeah.
Like I predicted that this would be the most predictable jump scare in the movie, and I was pleasantly surprised by the fake out later in the film. They don't use it in the way that you would expect it.
No. Yeah.
But it is used later. Detectives Goodman, played by poor man's Benicio del Toro, Bashir something. What's his name? Demian Bashir.
He's not. He's not.
I mean, in this film, he's a stand-in for a Benicio del Toro type.
Very true. Very true. Well said.
They discover a dead body in a car, and it leads them back to the Landers' house. Goodman warns...
Did you say the Flanders house?
Landers.
Oh, darn.
Goodman warns Muldoon to never step foot in the house, and you know what happens next. So, overall, it's mostly unknown actors in this film. There are some actors from other horror movies. I think the Matheson's, Mrs. Matheson, I should probably pull up the IMDb for this.
Damian Bashir was in Inglourious Bastards and The Hateful Eight.
Yeah, the most notable are Damian Bashir, the lady that plays Miss Matheson. You've seen her in other things. She
Mandy.
was in.
Oh wait, no, Miss Matheson is the old lady. I'm sorry,
the old lady.
the lady with dementia. She looks so similar.
She was in Insidious. She was.
Yes,
she was in. She was like the gross neighbor in Something About Mary.
Yeah,
you remember her?
Wasn't she also? Okay, either she was, or she's like the goddamn spitting image of the grandma from Happy Gilmore.
No, she is not.
But goddamn, does she look like her?
The grandma in Happy Gilmore was really old.
Yeah,
I
I know. And that's why this lady has confused me so much, because I'm like, what is this lady? Just fucking timeless? What happened? Did she just look 75 when she was 30 and she's just continuing on that? But no, she's a different person.
And then the other recognizable, probably the most recognizable actor to me was John Cho.
Oh yeah, for sure. Harold from Harold and Kumar.
Yeah, so he's Peter Spencer in this film. But overall, it's like when you look at the IMDb for a lot of these people, it's like, I don't know, they're on just random things, but they're all given pretty equal treatment in terms of like being featured characters, and they all pull it off really well.
Yeah, it's hard to, I mean, there is the obvious main character of Detective Muldoon, which, by the way, what a fucking great name.
Yeah, I mean, if there was a book of detective names, of like, if you're going to be writing a detective mystery, like, this would be number one.
Yeah, Muldoon. Yeah, great choice of name.
Be like
also,
Detective Muldoon or Moldover, or
they do some interesting. Nice try. Yeah. They do some interesting nods in this movie that right in the beginning, like, hit me so hard that I was like, this is corny, because Detective Muldoon, I was like, okay, come on, that's trying a little hard. And then also, I have a question for you, serious question. If you're a detective, do you have to drive an Oldsmobile or a Buick from 1989? Is that the most important thing? I mean, because Seven, harken back to Seven, they drive like a Buick. In this, they drive like a Pontiac or an Oldsmobile, from like the 80s.
Yeah, like True Detective.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, it's your car has to be boxy and kind of stately.
Yeah,
but
and a little shitty.
Yeah, and has to have some rust around the door handle.
Yeah, right on the corners of each panel has to have like the little bit of chip paint. And rust.
Yeah.
Yeah, a little on the nose with Detective Muldoon and the detective. Also, so the time periods, it does not have a lot of variation between time periods. It's like, it uses the year
2000
timestamps, but it's like 2004, 2005, and 2006.
Yeah,
there's not a lot of time that passed.
Right. And it's like, a part of me was like, well, maybe they're choosing the Oldsmobile because kids would think that's an old car. Because...
Right. Yeah, I mean, that would not be
because 2006 is old now, so it's like, but no, because if you look at a car from 2006, it looks like, remember how each decade it used to be like, you could really tell a car from the 70s,
right,
and then a car from the 80s, and then a car from the 90s. That's kind of stopped in the aughts and forward. It's a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not a car guy, so I couldn't tell you. I mean, I feel like you'd still be able to tell a 90s car, but I don't know what the differentiation between an aughts car and a 10s car.
Anyway.
Whatever. That also about the time period, I didn't write this down as a point, but there's a couple things that like were kind of anachronistic. There's one scene where she comes downstairs and the TV is on. And it's a console.
It's a big old box
CRT.
Yeah.
Like, not just a CRT TV. Like which would be like 2 decades past.
Yeah, this TV was from 1983.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not just that, but it was a console TV. So it was like a piece of furniture with a TV built in.
Right.
Which is, I mean, I had it in the late 80s, early 90s, but that thing was gotten rid of relatively quick. Like, that's by 2006 that thing would be ridiculous. And detectives make plenty of money. Like they're not hurting for TVs.
Look,
like
this is a small town in the South, and so the things are old and slow there.
I mean, more of it was like to set the tone of the production design.
Yeah.
It was like, this is old and creepy, has a little bit of that spooky house syndrome throughout. That's my common criticism of the Conjuring movies. It's like, all right, well, it's going to use these color filters and dark lighting and kind of the moody, kind of broken down houses. It doesn't do it quite as blatantly as The Conjuring does, but there is a little bit of that in this movie.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I noticed, I don't know if this is intentional or not, when it goes to the house that's mainly featured, so it's kind of said as the Landers' house, which is the people that came over from Japan. When they intro the house, there's kind of the hero shot of the house, and I noticed that the tree branches in front of the house were draped over like the top floor windows, which is almost like covering the eyes of the house. And so the girl in The Grudge, like her hair is falling over her eyes. I didn't know if that was intentional or not.
Yeah,
but
maybe.
I noticed.
Yeah, good job, Bryce.
It might have been that there was just a tree there.
Which one was first, The Grudge or The Ring? It had to be The Ring, right? The Ring was like 2002.
I mean, I feel like the Ring, the Japanese version, or the
Ringu.
I don't know when Ringu came out. I think Ju-on came out in 2000, like the original Japanese Ju-on, and I think that was that was like a remake of like a videotape.
They're the damn same movie, and they're both good.
Yeah,
I like them both. They're the same movie.
Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things where there must be some kind of Japanese mythology or cultural understanding of ghosts that, like I don't really understand the significance of it as an American, but it seems pretty consistent. Yes,
that is accurate. It's endlessly interesting to me, but not enough to really dig into it. I'm just like, oh, look at that. What kind of wacky shit's going on over there? Okay, bye.
What I gather from the Japanese concept of the afterlife is that it's damp all the time.
Oh yeah, it's just fucking
real wet,
drippy, man.
Yeah, just drippy.
How's it going in the afterlife? Oh,
I'm wet.
I'm fucking wet, bro.
I can't get dry.
Yeah,
that's why I'm so pissed off, and I'm gonna haunt you.
Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is.
Yes, it is.
So. One of the things that I appreciated, and David, you mentioned specifically, is the reactions to the ghosts are realistic throughout the film.
Yeah.
Like the reaction is like, what the fuck was that?
What the fuck? Okay, so let me set this up for you a little bit. In your normal, everyday, bad horror movie, or just average horror movie, you're going to get a bunch of scares, or at least a bunch of, clues to scares, like did a spooky thing just walk by? I can't tell. I'm going to turn around and look. Oh, well, let's continue on with my day. That's the answer to all of it. Oh, well, let's continue on with my day. Oh, I thought I just saw my dead mother jump out at me with blood dripping from her nose and mouth. Oh, well, I'm just going to continue on with my day. This movie does not do that. Anytime someone in this movie sees something alarming, it does what they should do, which is, what's happening? And they're just, every character is like, oh my God, what's happening? I love it.
Yeah, there's that, and there's a great kind of comedy cut where the doctor that's consulting with the Mathesons about the assisted suicide, they're like, oh yeah, we're haunted, and she's like experiencing all these hauntings, and what was it? The Mr. Matheson was talking about the afterlife, and it's how it's kind of comforting that they're seeing some of these ghosts because that means that there's something afterwards. And then it makes like a hard cut to zip. The doctor zipping up her bag and getting the fuck out.
Yeah, he just got done explaining.
Get the fuck out!
He just got done explaining to her. He's like, I know my wife is headed for death here soon, and I love her so much. And just these horrific ghosts, yeah, they're horrific and they're scary, but they give me hope that, I'll be reunited with her, when we're both drippy, gross corpses in the afterlife. And there's a little bit of a touching feeling to that statement, and that scene just ends with a zip, her zipping up her purse and being like, I'm fucking out of here.
Yeah, no thank you. Because, you're in the scene, in the context of the scene, it's kind of touching. It's like esoteric and like philosophical about the meaning of the afterlife, and they're really exploring that as this elderly couple and what it means to them, and that it actually equals hope. And you as the audience is thinking like, no, that's bad. The spooky ghosts that kill people are bad.
Yeah, you don't want to be a bad ghost.
And so the doctor, has that exact same reaction. You're like, yep, that's great. So yeah, the reactions to the ghosts are really, really realistic. We've been mentioning the three families. Should probably just lay out who the three families are featured in the flashbacks.
Yeah.
So the Landers it's a couple and their daughter, Madeline, I think. They're the family that brings back the curse from Japan. They're the least featured.
Right.
Their story is told right at the tail end of the movie.
Yes.
The Spencers is a realtor couple with John Cho and his wife.
Yeah.
They're trying to have a baby, but we're kind of introduced to them being diagnosed. They have this test for the fetus, and the doctor says that it's at high risk for ALD, which is a bad disease. I don't know what it is, but
diminishing.
It's bad.
Yeah.
Little kids die from that. And so they're realtors. They sold the house to the Landers, and it's coming at the tail end of that transaction. Peter Spencer is trying to get like the final signatures on the closing of the house. And then skip forward, the Mathesons is the elderly couple that get the house after the Landers. And one, the woman is dying. Is she dying of cancer? Did I get that right? Or was it just Alzheimer's or something?
No, she had. She was slipping into.
She definitely
dementia,
had
some sort of degenerative memory thing.
She had dementia, definitely, but I don't know if that was the main thing or that was another thing. Anyways, she has dementia, and they bring in an assisted suicide doctor to help them, and it seems like she's too far gone for that even, because you got to be of sound mind to.
You got to be able to basically pull the trigger, on yourself, because that's what assisted suicide is, not assisted killing.
So jumping back to the Spencers and their baby tests, I wrote down, doctors are fearmongers when it comes to baby tests.
Yeah.
Did you experience that with your kid? Like,
oh yes,
they do not hold your hand or like
I have
give you any, like, it seems like they err on the side of
terror.
Yeah,
no, that's accurate. Like we had a real scary. I'm so pissed off at this fucking doctor. And Carrie, my wife, knows this doctor personally because she worked at the same facility as this doctor for decades. And her mom worked with her for decades too. And she came into the room after this one test when our first child was,
I remember you telling me
in
the
the womb, and she was fucking weeping.
It's a bad sign when your doctor is weeping.
How's that
giving you news?
How's that bedside manner for you? She came in crying.
There's a level of empathy that you should probably not reach
right
in the doctor-client doctor-patient
and
relationship.
look, I get that you're friends with my wife, and that there's I started looking at the statistics for the thing. She was like supposedly, you know, it was like nil. It was nil. This doctor was a fucking. Anyway, yes, doctors do like if anybody's out there thinking of getting pregnant or pregnant right now, and you got a doctor who's freaking you out, like get a second opinion, because Jesus Christ, it's irresponsible to do that to people. It's almost like they want you to.
Yeah, I mean, we had a couple different doctors. Our first doctor was great. Like, he was absolutely great.
That's good.
And he actually, side note, he was a contestant and a winner on Jeopardy.
Oh.
So I was like, well, this guy's smart. But he like couched everything.
But
Just had to kill a lot of people.
But he had to kill a lot of people, so he got disbarred.
He would just basically say the attitude that he had was, everything's fine. Everything's going to be great. Don't worry about it. Like, just don't worry about it, because, like, really, if you think about it, you know, women have been doing this forever. Like, their bodies are designed to do it. Like,
for literally all of humanity.
the default is there's nothing to worry about. In a very, very rare case, there's something to worry about.
Yeah.
And there's even just like this cottage industry of tests that you can take to, like, I don't know.
Yeah,
like
and you know what?
You can actively try to do a little more harm to the baby so that you can understand a little bit more of the risks associated. It's like this weird trade-off.
You know what? I'm going to do a little bit of what I consider to be public outreach right now, and just because I was so shocked at how poorly everything was handled during our first pregnancy, I'm going to say, like, if you or if you're trying to conceive, or you have a kid right now and you're worried or anything like that, reach out to us at on Facebook or on Twitter or something like that. I'll be happy to talk with you about, like, our experiences and the unfounded bullshit that was thrown our way, and just, you know, not only that, but just tell you it's going to be okay. Like, so reach out to us, because I would like to share my story if it will help. So
one of the things that I thought about, like,
so much of this stuff is not talked about. I feel like it's so taboo in our society to talk about this shit, and it leaves people ill prepared.
Yeah, the technology allows you to see so far into so far into the future about future problems, like, down the road with the child, that, like, it really doesn't matter, because, okay, if you think about
like, they're gonna get an F on their report card in 5th grade. Do you want to abort right now, or and you're like, what the fuck are you talking about?
Like, if you think about it, what is the worst fear would be? Just a horrible, like,
illness
that will make the child dependent on you forever. That's like the worst case scenario, and you would have to steel yourself for, like, expecting that. But what they don't say, and what you don't realize, and if you talk with a family that has a member of their family that requires, like, that level of care, where it's like they're basically hospitalized in the house, it still starts out as a baby.
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of the process of, it grows into it, and it's gradual to the point where, like, it's not like a horrible I don't know, I don't want to talk for everyone, but it's not as bad as you would think it would be, because you get used to it and you're making adjustments along the way until, like, this is what life is. Like, this is where it is. Like,
and it's understandable if that's not something you want to do, but it's also something that a lot of people get a lot of great life experience from. So it's one of these things where it's like, well, I don't know. You see, the Grudge 2020 bringing up important, hard-hitting topics in horror movie talk,
right?
So that we can help you through a tough time.
Yes, I mean I appreciated the weighty topics in this movie.
Yeah.
So like,
yeah, me too.
Talking about Alzheimer's, assisted suicide, like baby tests with congenital diseases,
yeah,
stuff like that, and like deciding whether to abort or not. Like it's all handled very maturely.
Yeah,
like it's not exploitative.
No,
which is really impressive to me.
Yeah, it is very impressive that it hits those three hard-hitting fucking topics and never does it really feel like it's like it crosses the line over into that Rob Zombie territory I was talking about before.
Yeah.
And then there's also, so you mentioned the Landers, the Spencers, and the Mathesons, but then there's also Detective Muldoon.
Right.
And her,
Muldoon.
and her son.
She's the mainest character.
Yeah, and then there's also the other detective,
Goodman.
Yeah. And so there are really four strong story arcs.
Yeah. I mean, Detective Goodman, I guess that's the other thing is like, it flashes back to him and his former partner.
His partner, who plays a decent role in this as well.
So the standout scenes in this, I just kind of pulled out some stuff that caught my attention that I thought worked really well. So Peter Spencer's trying to get the final signatures for closing the Landers' house, and he goes to the house. No one will answer him, and after like the second or third time he goes back, the daughter Melinda is alone at the house. Like, I think she's sitting out in the rain or something at first. She's wet because she's dead. And they go in, and he's like, "Where are your parents?" And he's like sticking around for hours and hours because, like, where the fuck are the parents? I can't just leave this.
You can't just leave a little kid.
Because she's like, like 8 or 7 or something like that. She's pretty young. And her nose starts bleeding. And it's like, and he's like
not just bleeding, gushing.
Yeah. And so he's taking care of her, and she's acting really weird. I mean, the audience pretty much understands that she's dead and that she's a ghost. And there's a pretty great like shot where he's kind of like hugging her and like saying everything's going to be okay. And she like kind of smiles at the camera, and her mouth is like dripping with blood.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good scene. I wrote down world's worst deli.
Yeah,
because the doctor to the Mathesons goes to the grocery store to shop for him, and she's kind of haunted. And it has these shots of all this gross, like, pig corpse meat, like with flies all over it.
Yeah, pig's head.
I couldn't tell if that was like a hallucination or the deli was just that bad.
Yeah,
and it just felt that gross. I don't think I would shop at a deli with it that had flies all over the meat.
One thing that this movie does well is it shows a lot of restraint in both the jump scares and then also just throughout the movie. It doesn't just come on you constantly. It's not just like with the spooks and stuff. It does a good job of building tension and kind of restraining itself and like amping up like the stakes for each storyline.
Yeah. Some of the stuff that didn't quite work. Well, okay. So another scene that worked really well that stands out. Like what stands out for you? Like, wow,
that's my shoulder.
That's impressive.
You can hear that on the mic. Ouch. I'm really fucked up here. So, did you what did you just ask me? I'm sorry.
Like the standout scenes, like what really worked or was impactful?
As Harold is being chased, Harold from Harold and Kumar is being chased through the house. There's a few moments that stand out. Anytime anyone is in the house, I'm on high alert and alone. Oh man, the scene with is it the it's the Mathesons, the older couple. When Detective Muldoon walks in on a house that contains a corpse of the old man and his wife, who has cut off all of her fingers. And is like she's chopping carrots, but really she's chopping like her fingers off.
You're confusing two scenes. So she discovers Mrs. Muldoon, but
she's standing in the kitchen. She's standing in the kitchen crying, saying, "Will you feed me?"
Yeah.
And
so the scene you're thinking about is the doctor is going to. Oh wait, is that what you just said? The doctor, or did you say the detective?
Detective.
So yeah,
was Muldoon.
The doctor discovers she's coming back from the grocery store, I think, and she goes in and she sees the dead body on the floor. It's like freshly bleeding, and Miss Matheson is at the counter cutting stuff, and then it shows her that she's actually cutting off and chopping off her fingers on her left hand.
And she had just freshly murdered her husband.
Yeah. And she has the great line of, he was trying to kill me.
Yeah, he was trying to make me commit suicide.
Which is great.
It's true. And then the scene that happened before that is when Muldoon discovers the house, right? She goes into the house, and the old lady is there,
lady's being really
crying,
creepy,
standing alone in a room. Oh, this was the old lady in It. This was the old lady who walks around.
It's not the same. It's very, very, very close.
God damn. What is up with this brigade of old ladies who look alike?
Well, you're like racist about old ladies. They just all look alike for you.
It's called ageist.
So Detective Muldoon walks in, and the old lady is being creepy. We're not told the full backstory with them yet, and then she discovers the moldering body of the husband.
Yeah, that worked really well for me. And then of course anything having to do with that dirty ass poop bathtub.
Yeah, I wrote down. So Peter Spencer discovers this bathtub, and he's like, something might be in there, and he does what everyone would do with a dirty
poop tub,
standing poop tub water. You just put your face as close as possible to it.
Let me just
get in there.
And there's bubbles coming out of it.
Yeah,
there's something breathing down there.
Yeah, I wouldn't do that. I would hit the tub drain thing, like the little arm, just go doop,
I don't know, he was getting pretty close to it. He was,
Sabrina, don't just stare at it, eat it.
He was thinking about eating it. I think he was gonna.
So and then the other really impactful scene is with the flashback of Detective Goodman's partner. That is really affected by the house. He's really attuned to there's something really bad about this house, and he starts getting haunted. And he attempts to commit suicide, and they're driving along in a car, and he takes his gun out and shoots himself in the face, which is really shocking in the moment.
Yeah,
and pretty great scene.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably one of the most common mistakes while trying to commit suicide is last minute turn the gun a little bit to your cheek while it's in your mouth. Then you just blow half your head off.
Yeah, it turns up that he didn't commit suicide. He's still alive. And then when Detective Muldoon visits him, he's
goes to visit him in the insane asylum.
Yeah. And then he proceeds to, rip his eyeballs out.
Yeah, because he's well, maybe I can't stop seeing them. It gets worse. This curse progresses, and as it progresses, you see them all the time, and it's horrible. So maybe if I rip my eyes out, maybe I won't see them anymore. And as he's being carted away, he's like, I can still feel them. Ah! And it's Jesus Christ.
Yeah. So that's all good stuff. All the stuff that earns the R rating is pretty great.
Yeah.
I'm glad that they left that in. The one question I had, and this is a little one, is when the doctor is running away from the Mathesons, that's the car, that's the dead body in the car that the detectives find later on.
Yeah.
I feel like I missed something. Like, what happened in that car crash? Because she went off the road, and I feel like there was like a split second where I saw blood or something.
Yeah, she broke her. She like hit the ceiling and broke her arm. Like she got a compound fracture in her arm real fast.
Oh, is that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah,
because I saw like a flash of red, and I was like, "What happened?"
Yeah, her arm split open.
Okay.
Yeah,
I'm glad we figured that out. Okay, so and then to wrap it up, the countdown to 5. It's like the jump scare that you were fully expecting. They were sitting in the house, and they're like, "All right, just close your eyes and count down to 5." And I like took out my imaginary binoculars. It's like, all right, let's see this coming a mile away. There's gonna be a jump scare, and there's not.
No jump scare.
There's no jump scare. It was a great fake out.
Yeah,
and they're fine. And then later, at the very end of the film, well, not the very end, but like the kind of the finale.
Yeah.
She tells his son, "Stay in the car, no matter what. Do not come in this house ever." And she's like getting ready to torch the house. She's like spreading fuel all over. And then, of course, like right as she's about to light it, her son is in like the entryway, and she's like, What are you doing? Why are you trying to burn this house?" And she's like, "No,
I told you not to come in here."
Yeah.
You dumb bitch.
God damn it. Why? And he's like, "I'm scared." And he's like, "Well,
what do we do when we're
scared? What do we do when we're scared?" And
he just stands there looking at her like blank face. He's like, "I don't know what to say. I'm just a fucking ghost, lady. What do you want from me?"
What do we do when we're scared? And so it's revealed that it's obviously not actually him because he doesn't know the thing.
Yeah.
And so that was a pretty good use of that.
So she's like,
setup.
What do we do? What do we do when we're scared, bitch? He's like, I don't know.
And so she burns the house, and it's like you have your kind of feel-good, bombastic ending. And then at the very end, it's revealed that they're still haunted,
Yee.
So, I mean, it's a very moody, dark, gross-feeling movie. And I think that's what he was going for, and I think he succeeded. If you're expecting kind of a Conjuring movie where it's like, this is going to be ramping up to something real big, it's like, it's not real big. Like, it's not one thing after the other.
Right.
It's like really trying to tell the story and trying to tell the scope of what this Grudge is.
Yeah, this is not a grandiose movie.
Yeah.
This is just a fucking horror movie, man.
Yeah.
This is just a straight up black and white, like bread and butter kind of horror movie that does a good job of being that. So if that's what you want, I contend that everybody just fucking curse this movie, and it's not fair. I do not believe. But let's get into that. What's our next bit?
So our next bit that I don't have any music for is Critics Corner.
Whoa, boy.
Impressive. Very nice.
We've got a new Critics Corner.
So this is something I think we want to read some of the criticisms of the movie and
just express our thoughts on those criticisms.
Yeah. Maybe pick them apart a little. So this is off of Rotten Tomatoes. Just pulled some of the. This one's from Reddit. One of the comments that felt like they're really disappointed was Kayako was in it for the very beginning in one shot for about 2 seconds, while some fat old man zombie was in about 100% more screen time. And so they're expecting like a specific ghost.
Yeah.
And they were disappointed that the specific ghost didn't get more screen time.
Oh, Jason wasn't in it. I didn't like it because you only got to see Jason for... You realize Jason's screen time in that movie was 4 minutes and 37 seconds? I was out of a 2-hour-long movie.
And then I think... Oh, yeah, this one is another one. Very fine actors completely wasted in a poorly made reboot. Oh, the boredom. So these are all from critics in Rotten Tomatoes now.
This is a top critic in Rotten Tomatoes who says a poorly made reboot. It's not a reboot. This is not a reboot.
It's a sequel, but also it's not poorly made. It's pretty well made.
Yeah,
it looks great. There's a lot of great shots that really worked. An unpleasant, humorless slog through the muck of low-budget January horror fodder that is neither frightening or particularly entertaining, blandly ambling from tired jump scare to tired jump scare.
Wow. I feel like, well, I'm going to do one next after this that names these people.
Right. Yeah.
But that's
just like...
Yes, it's humorless. It's not supposed to be funny. That's not.
We're not watching Ghostbusters.
Obviously, that's not what he was going for.
Yeah.
When it is humorous, it's funny. It's like, the parts that you're supposed to laugh at because they are genuinely good. Like when she zips up the handbag. Hang on, let me get the next one here. Ben Kenigsberg of the fucking New York Times said this. So he titled his review, The Grudge Review, A Curse That Can't Be Lifted. Nicolas Pesce's new horror movie remake has its chilling moments, but ultimately remains cursed by a fatally hokey concept. This freeform curse requires scant logic and never stops, much like the franchise it inhabits. The new Grudge, the second remake since the original theatrical movie Ju-on the Grudge, a Japanese film first shown in 2002. Okay, I have a few things to say about this guy who writes for the New York Times, Ben Kenigsberg. Again, they're calling it a remake. He's calling it a remake.
It's a soft reboot. It's like they're trying to re-engage.
Okay, then call it a soft reboot. It's not a remake. It's patentedly not a remake. Ultimately, hokey concept. This freeform curse requires scant logic and never stops. That's
more. He's attacking the concept, which is like, okay. That's like.
Okay, so let's take a look at an undeniably good horror movie, Hereditary. Is that a hokey concept?
Yeah, it's a pretty hokey concept.
Bringing a demon, from Payman from the Bible back to we're going to reincarnate him. Does that float your boat? Is that better?
Or The Exorcist. It's a pretty hokey concept.
It's being
possessed by a demon.
Let me think here. What's okay? So I got the only horror movies that I can think of that aren't based on a hokey concept are serial killer horror movies, like American Psycho, or what was that one we watched on Shudder a few months ago and we still have it in the can?
Oh, Henry,
Portrait of a Serial Killer. That movie was not a hokey concept.
And also sidebar, Netflix just came out with a documentary on the serial killer that movie is based on.
Yeah, that was a real dark movie.
Henry Lee Lucas.
Yeah. But my point is, if you're going to watch a horror movie, expect a hokey concept. In very rare cases, is it not?
Right. It's the concept of the horror is always going to be hokey.
Yeah.
Or tired. What makes it good is how you wrap it. How you like...
How it's presented.
Yeah. Like what the setup is.
You think you got one more.
What's really interesting about this version of The Grudge, not the film itself, which is really basic jump scary, not that funny and pretty mean, is that it's a really terrific cast who are trying their best to make this a good movie. And it's just like, so
let's reframe that.
It's basic jump scary, not that funny and pretty mean. So it's like, yes.
Yeah.
Like, it's going to have jump scares.
It was all those things are intended.
Because it's a horror movie. It's not that funny. They're not trying to be.
No, it's not going for
taken pretty seriously.
Did you think it was supposed to be funny? Because if so, that's a failing on your part.
Yeah, and it's pretty mean. That's the weirdest one. Like, this is a really mean movie.
It's
like,
mean. I think what they mean when they say that, and I could be wrong, I could be vastly misinterpreting them, but I think what they mean is it makes me think about heavy shit, and that is mean. It's mean to invoke my thoughts upon these heavy concepts because I can't deal with that right now. I just wanted to watch a light, breezy horror movie.
Well, yeah, it's almost like they're being really mean to these characters. Like, they're making a lot of bad stuff happen to these characters.
Bitch, do you know where you are? Here's one for you. David Fear, the senior editor of Rolling Stone, says The Grudge Review. He titled it The Grudge Review. J-horror light rebooted from genre to generic. An attempt to revive the venerable imported franchise simply brings the same old scares back for another round. He's not wrong. No. I'd say he's absolutely right. But there's only so much you can do when you're making... I mean, this is
yeah.
This is a valid criticism, but it's good at that, I think.
Right.
And
it's good at what it sets out to do. I mean, that's kind of what I measure most movies out on. Like,
what are you trying?
It might not be my cup of tea, but what are they trying to accomplish, and do they do that well?
Yeah.
And like, I feel like Nicolas Pesce did a really good job. So these are 3 audience reviews from Rotten Tomatoes. This movie was supposed to have more scary added to it. It was boring. My kids fell asleep at the movies watching it due to it dragging and not frightening them. Truly dissatisfied. So first of all, don't take your kids to a rated R horror movie.
I'm always impressed at the dregs that the audience reviews brings to the table.
Well, I mean, they might be like 13-year-olds. Maybe they're 2 18-year-olds. Who knows? Yeah. Maybe they're twins and they're both over the 17. I mean, I imagine that this person would bring their 5-year-old to it. You're like, well, they're bored. Wins the award of the worst jump scares in any movie I've ever seen. See, that's the thing. When it comes to jump scares, it's so tired to criticize movies based on jump scares because it's like, it's just a device. It's not... It's very hard to have good jump scares or bad jump scares. Yeah. They just are.
Yeah.
And so if they worked on you, they worked, and if they didn't, they didn't.
Right.
If you saw them coming, then they're not going to work. If you didn't see them coming, or it's still it's just...
There's a definite art to it. Here, I'll read the last one for you. It was a poorly written movie with a plot that was all over the place. Did no justice to the Japanese original or the American remake.
Yeah, this is another one. I looked at the scores for the 2004 The Grudge, and it was 38% on Rotten Tomatoes. It's not like it was a beloved movie. I don't understand the preciousness of the source material.
So, and this is a great point that you're bringing up. First of all, the first one was not received well, but it's aged well over time, and it's now a beloved movie. So a similar movie that I liked very much when going to see it in theaters, but was received very poorly. At the time, it had a 27% on Rotten Tomatoes. When I went to go see it in theaters, it was as above, so below. People hated that movie critically. And now it's this low-key, never stops getting brought up in every horror discussion ever as hey, that was a pretty interesting movie, a pretty interesting concept. And I think that'll happen with this too. People will realize in a couple years, it won't be long, they'll be like, hey, you know what movie I liked? This will be the top post on the horror subreddit, on Dreadit. It'll be, you know what movie gets too much hate that I don't think it should is The Grudge 2020, and he'll be right. And it'll keep getting said over and over again because that's right.
Yeah. Having done this podcast for over a year, we've seen some really boring movies and tired movies. And this isn't that. I understand the criticisms, and they're not completely wrong, but there is a lot more interesting stuff in this movie than people are giving it credit for.
They're nailing this movie to a cross for some dumb reason. And they don't even know why.
Again, look at The Prodigy. I think The Prodigy probably got better ratings than this one.
I'm pulling it up now. Anyway.
there's bad horror movies that are going to come out this year that haven't even started production yet. Like, because the level of care is just so little. Like, and they're going to be bad, and they're going to be, like, completely forgotten. The fact that this one, like, will inspire vitriol and be remembered as something tells you that there's something about it. Did you find it?
Yes. The Prodigy, was reviewed about twice as nice as this one. 43%.
Yeah, that's fucking insane.
Isn't it nuts?
That is fucking insane.
It's nuts to me.
If you're saying that this movie has a hokey concept, like, The Prodigy is super hokey. It's like...
Yeah, it's basic bitches kind of stuff.
Yeah, I don't...
Okay. Well, we're done being salty about that. You guys let us know what you think of this movie. And
I'm sure we'll get lots of reactions. We're in the minority. Let us know what you think. I mean, I'll feel bad if we make a recommendation and people go see it and they hate it.
Well, I mean...
But I hope, like, we've given you a reason for, like, framing it where...
I won't feel bad.
See why
I think
it's good.
Look, this is all just like your opinion, man. You
Right.
know, this is what I keep coming back to. Is there's just no accounting for taste. I know I share a very similar taste to you and my wife, both people who I respect, and you know, I hold your opinions in high regard. So
again, it would be
hopefully
interesting.
our audience holds our opinions in high regard.
Yeah, it'd also be interesting, like, dividing where people are and how they receive this movie in terms of where they are in their life stage. Like,
yeah,
feel like if you're in a marriage with kids, like, it might be more impactful.
Yeah,
for you. Like, if you are in a marriage, you've had a couple kids, and you've got a parent that's, like, really starting to get old, like, really deteriorating, like, all of the setups for this would impact you and inspire empathy.
Yeah.
Anyways, go see The Grudge. So, thanks for listening to the show. We love you. We'll love you even more if you share it with a friend, and especially if you leave us a rating on Apple Podcasts. Again, if you want to support the show, check out our Patreon at patreon.com/horrormovietalk, or go on our website and click through the buttons in the banner. It'll take you to Patreon or our Amazon associate. So if you click on the button that says buy on Amazon, anything you buy, after clicking that button,
we get a little taste.
We get a little bit of a taste of it. I mean, it's basically another way to leave a tip that gives you something back. You know.
Yeah.
Special thanks to new Patreon member
Don B.
And we'll see you next time.
Yeah, you guys have a great week. And do you know what we're reviewing next week?
We are reviewing Underwater
next week. And stay tuned for controversial opinions involving that.
Yeah, I fully expect to dislike that one more than this one.
Yeah, I do too. But hey, you know, I could be wrong. It kind of looks kind of like The Abyss, and I love The Abyss.
Yeah.
So here's hoping. You guys have a great week. We love you.
Bye.
Bye.
Jew-on, apply directly to the Jew. Jew-on, apply directly to the Jew. I can't look at you.
You gotta save that clip. Take that clip,
yeah,
and put it at the end, and that'll be our outro.
Yeah, that'll be good. It's so stupid. Oh.